Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Club Ken podcast. My name is Kendall Drummond, and I created this podcast to help tell the stories of some of the athletes and people that I had the privilege of knowing throughout my time as a soccer player. As you can see, I'm not in my normal setup. I am at my old school, Eckerd College. I've been here for 2 weeks, working overnight camps, and I've had so much fun, and I've loved being back. And it always feels like home. And I'm so excited for my guest today because she truly did make Eckerd College beautiful, and more importantly, she made it home. And that is Emma Lou Smith. Emma came to Eckerd College her sophomore year, both of our sophomore years. She transferred in from Central Connecticut. She really did make this place home. So it's really fitting that I'm doing this intro at the place that we met. She has a story that I've never encountered before. She really does motivate me, and she has motivated me throughout my entire time of knowing her. She really did have a huge impact on me when it came to paying attention to my mental health, because she kind of had a lot of knowledge about it. And I don't know, she was just always someone you could always talk to. She is someone who is bubbly. She's always got a smile on her face. She's always wanting to help people, and she truly is just one of the best people I know. And she's so kind, so thoughtful, all of that. I'm super excited for her to be on the podcast because I think anyone listening to this is able to take something away, whether you have gone through injuries and whether you haven't, whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, whether you're anybody watching this podcast can take something away from it. And so, yeah, without further ado, Emma Lou Smith.
Action. Hi, Emma.
Hi, Ken.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready to talk to you. I've been actually looking forward to this. Like, since I started the podcast, I was like, no, I have to have Emma on there. She's going to give us really good insight to, your journey and how you were able to move past a lot of hurdles and stuff. So I've been very excited and looking forward to talking to you. But before we get into that, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the people watching.
Okay. Well, my name is Emma Lou. I am from Connecticut. I transferred to Eckerd, so I didn't get to see Kendall for all of college, but I got 2.5 years at Eckerd,
Yes.
and it was the best 2.5 years of my life. I miss it so much.
Yes.
Well, we'll get into it, but yeah, I feel like my whole identity was being a soccer player, so that's who I am, that's who I was, but we'll talk about it. But I feel like I've learned a lot about myself in the last year, so.
How would you kind of describe yourself as a soccer player?
I feel like when I think about myself as a soccer player, I think about other people first. And I think that that happened because of my journey and what it turned into, and the fact that my time as a soccer player got cut short for so many years.
Right.
So my mentality kind of shifted into what can I do for other people as a soccer player and still be a part of the team.
Yeah.
But if I were to think back on the time that I did get to play, I would say I was very unselfish. It kind of plays into that. I cared so much about other people. In high school, I was the leading goal scorer, and I was just so not embarrassed by it, but I never wanted to shine and have any attention on me. And I literally have quotes from my high school soccer coach saying Emma would do anything not to be in this role because she just cares so much about other people.
Yeah.
So I would say selfless is how I was as a soccer player. And playing wise, I was fast, I was quick to the ball, but
Yes.
I like to focus more now on who I was and how I treated people as a soccer player, and I would say caring team player. So
Yes.
that was me.
No, definitely. I feel like what you're saying really does align with what I saw at Eckerd. On the field, I feel like you were very everyone else oriented and very a good teammate. Even when you weren't, even when you were doing your injuries, you were making sure girls who were injured were okay, that they had the right resources and all that stuff. And then obviously we'll talk more about it, but starting the Morgan Message chapter at Eckerd, which is awesome. So that definitely does add up, and I'm glad you could see that not only when you're playing, but also off the field too, and now live post soccer. I do want to ask you, what has been your favorite soccer moment throughout your whole career?
the game that I got to play at Eckerd. I forget, it was like in the fall. It was like a preseason game. And I got in and I was so nervous and anxious, like being around my girls and like the expectation and like, oh, it's her first game, like she's got to do good and stuff. And I feel like Luke had expectations of me, like coming in as a D1 transfer, like we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember scoring a goal that game and like him coming up after me and saying, "Oh, that's what I got you for." Like, "Oh, you did great." And like my parents were there and I had all my like friends and I think that's probably my favorite soccer moment because it comes down to me making the sacrifice to transfer, which was so scary, but in that moment, like I had fought through some injuries already and it kind of worked out. And
Mhm.
that was the only game I got to play in. I didn't, well, I played, but I tore my ACL right after that. But
Yeah.
just I think that moment where I was like, okay, I came here, I did what I wanted to do, and I'll never forget that game.
Yeah, you mentioned you came to Eckerd your sophomore year,
Sophomore.
sophomore year spring,
Yes.
right? So, and then you played D1 at Central
Yes.
Connecticut.
Yes.
Can you like kind of walk me like through like what that transition was like to go from D1 to D2?
Kind of similar to what Sierra said. I feel like in high school and like recruiting, everybody was like, oh, D1 or none. Like,
Yeah.
that's all that I would hear. And especially, playing like on a club team too, you have all these like super talented girls around you, like committing to places and going on visits and stuff. So I feel like I had this like pressure within myself to
Mhm.
go Division 1, but
Gotcha.
I honestly only landed Division 1 because it was the first school to offer me, and my sister was at that school, and we're super
Yeah.
close, and it was close to home. So, like, I don't look at it as me, like, being great and going D1. I looked at it as, like, this is just what fell on the cards for me.
Right.
And I think that's why transferring to Division 2 was, like, a no-brainer for me because I didn't
Mhm.
care about the title. Like,
Right.
I had a better experience Division 2 than I did Division 1,
Yeah.
and transferring was what needed to happen.
Yeah.
And there are differences between the levels and stuff, but like coming down to it, what really mattered was better at Division 2 for me. So
Yeah. I feel like it's just really what is better for you. Like
yeah.
minus the whole divisions. And like you said, people get caught on the titles and even
Yep.
younger athletes now, social media is huge and all they care about is the title or like that big post. But you could go D1 and be going to a different school every single year.
Yeah.
But if that's what you want, that's what you want. But I know like I don't know, I feel like it's really good to hold roots down. And I
Yes.
feel like we both were able to do that at Eckerd. In your opinion, like, were there any differences, like major differences you noticed playing D1 and D2?
I feel like some of the main ones are like inevitable, like the facilities and
Right.
like the resources available, like the gear
Hmm.
you get and like the staff. Like I feel like the staff and the support system I had at Division 1, like mental health. We had like a counselor at
Oh,
Division 1 who,
really?
yeah, who you could go sit and talk to. Her name was Amy. She was great.
Yeah.
We had a mental health like room, like a space you could go and they would bring in therapy dogs, like a
Yeah.
Zen room, like that was one of the main things I noticed is like the resources available to athletes, and it all depends like where you end up because I'm sure Division 2, Division 3 programs have stuff like that. But my experience, the difference was that, and like we also had like mandatory study hall, like you had to get I think like 10 hours a week no
Hmm.
matter what your grades were, like
Yeah.
you had to sit and clock into that room with your badge 10 hours a week. So like that was heavily enforced, and like I know there was study hall at Eckerd, but like
Hmm.
I never had to go to that. And
Yeah, it was flexible.
yeah, I feel like it made you a little bit more well-rounded when
Hmm.
you were kind of pressured to sit down in that study
Yeah.
room. Um, so things like that, and then honestly, it depends what conference you're in and like the level of
Hmm.
division, but I've said to people before, like, I think my Division 2 school was comparable with the program I had at Division 1. And, like,
Yeah.
I would have loved to see the two teams play each other because, like,
Hmm.
I swear the conference we were in for Division 2 is one of the best in the
Yeah.
country. And, like,
Yeah.
factoring in the heat, too, going
Hmm.
from the cold in Connecticut to the heat in Florida,
Yeah.
like, that was a slap in the face. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't keep up with this right now because I'm not
Hmm.
used to it. So, like, the level also like evens out there because you have all these
Hmm.
girls used to playing in the Florida Heat and
Right.
the caliber, like the fitness that you have to have for that. Like,
I don't, like I've thought about it too, because we do have teams who come in the preseason
yeah.
and like they're always like, it's so hot. How do you play in this? We're just like, I don't know. We have to
Yeah.
train in this. Even
Yeah.
like when we played a team, I think Lara's team in Tennessee,
Yeah.
they were like dying. Like
Yes, I remember that.
that is a huge difference. But also you're talking about like the resources in the Zen room and the
Mhm.
therapy dogs, like that is insane. And I think
Mhm.
Eckerd does need that. But, again, resources, money. I'm sure your school had a lot more money than Eckerd did.
Mhm.
So those all play a factor. But I guess that is the perk of playing D1. You get more resources and like you had a lot of coaches too on your team, right?
Yeah, we
D1?
had
Yeah.
our head coach and then our assistant coach who she was like pretty much a head coach too. They
Right.
they've been coaching together for like I think 30 years and then
Oh,
we had
wow.
like a specific goalie coach and I know that's happened at Eckerd before, but it's
Yeah.
been what changed all the time and
Yeah.
like we had a consistent coaching staff of like four to
Right.
five coaches that were
Yeah.
there for practices, that were there
Mhm.
for team meals. They were there for everything. So I
Yeah.
think that was another difference. I would say it's good that you point that out that
Mhm.
they have more resources to have a staff.
Yeah. Eckerd. What like made you pick Eckerd? What, or were you like talking to other schools as well?
I kind of knew in my head that I wanted to go somewhere I was going to push myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I thought Florida was what would do that. And
Mhm.
like I had moved to Florida for a little bit during high school because of COVID and like the
Right.
online schooling. So I actually lived in Florida like junior and senior year somewhat. And I think Eckerd is pretty much like the closest school to where I lived in Lakewood Ranch area. So I kind of knew of Eckerd and then I actually had a girl from my high school that had gone to Eckerd, so it was kind of on my radar and it was kind of just a shot in the dark. I remember I emailed Luke and Shauna actually because that's what I found on the website.
Yeah.
And when I remember I was like out with my friends when Luke responded to me and I remember screaming. I was so excited and like just the communication I had with Luke, I remember jumping on a bunch of Zoom calls.
Yeah.
I remember he was like in where was he? North Carolina. Where was Delta
No,
State?
yeah, North Carolina.
Yes, he was in
Memphis. I don't know.
I don't know. Wherever he was at the time, I remember him being there and like Genevieve was in the background, like my dad was next to me. It was just like a good call. And then
Yeah.
I flew down, I looked around at Eckerd a little bit, like a quick little visit by myself because everything was
Mhm.
shut down.
Yeah.
Um, but it just felt right.
Yeah.
And you can't like look up Eckerd and not be like, oh my God, I want to go there. So
Right.
I,
Exactly. And
yeah.
like you said, Luke obviously showed he was excited, but he talked about you coming in every single practice, like, because that was his first year. That was like the second half of
Yeah.
his first year. And we'd never have like, well, for my past year, we'd never have like a big D1 recruit coming
Yeah.
in. And he was like, we got this big D1 girl, she's gonna be crazy. And so like we were like trying to find who you were, like on
Yes.
Instagram, like who is this girl? He was just hyping you up so bad.
Yeah.
Like rightfully so, because
Yeah.
when you got here, I feel like, I don't know, it was like meant to be, truly. And I feel
Yeah.
like you
Hmm.
fit into the team perfectly. You fit into our culture and like awesome. And I also think you had a huge impact on the team as
Yeah.
well. I now want to kind of talk about your injuries because I know that's a huge part of your athletic journey. Can you give us like a brief, like little history of your injuries throughout your journey?
Yes. So it started off not even with an injury, I would say, more of just like, like when you start playing club soccer at a young age and like
Hmm.
you're doing that, you still like, I at the time, I was playing travel soccer, club soccer, and middle school soccer. I was on three teams at once in eighth grade. So I was going, literally, I won the middle school championship. And then I was so exhausted, but my mom had to rush me to club practice after.
Yeah.
And like thinking about that now, like I was doing too much like
Hmm.
for my body, but that's what the pressure is. And so my knees just started to kill me. And of course, you want to brush it off. You don't want to think about it, but it got to the point where I was like, I can't brush this off. So I went to my mom and she was like, okay, let's get it checked out. Went to an orthopedic doctor and he was like, okay, you have patellofemoral syndrome, which is something a lot of athletes get told. It's just like knee pain and like
Mhm.
pain and stuff. And you can wear a brace, you can do physical therapy, but doing that for a little bit, I was like, that's not the problem.
Yeah.
So I went and I saw a surgeon, and bless his heart, he was an old man. He was nearing retirement. Um, I don't think I should have done it, but I ended up having
Yeah.
surgery with him, and he removed my plica, which is like a small little band in your knee that you don't really need, and sometimes it can cause irritation.
Mhm.
So he was like, "That's the problem. Let's remove your plica."
Yeah.
It did nothing. So that was my first surgery, and he retired shortly after that.
Yeah.
And so then I found a great surgeon, and it's the place that I still to this day do physical therapy at.
Mhm.
It's like 45 minutes from my house, but it was always so worth it.
Right.
So I ended up getting a second surgery with that guy, and then a third one. And both of those were pretty much just, I don't even know how to explain it. I can't even.
Mhm.
It's just like tendons and ligaments and stuff. And for a while, it actually worked.
Yeah.
I was feeling good. I got back to playing. I went to high school and I
Mhm.
was doing really good there. And that's when I was like, okay, I could play in college. Like
Right.
I could keep going. And then senior year, I was playing in a game and I went to shoot the ball. My foot planted and it went to the side. So I tore like every ligament in my ankle.
Yeah.
So then I had to get two surgeries on that ankle, and I had like metal put in my ankle, and then eventually down I was on in a wheelchair, in a
Mhm.
boot, crutches, like everything. Um, and then eventually like the metal that they put in was like causing me so much irritation that I had to go back
Wow.
in and fix things. And the second ankle surgery was right before I was supposed to start college soccer. So I
Mhm.
actually had a delayed start too, which, hits your confidence.
Yes.
Um, but then I did fine my year and a half at my school. I broke my thumb, like I had stupid little things. I'm just injury
Mhm.
prone, but when I got to Eckerd, as I said, I think it was like my second game in that junior fall. You were there, toward the
Yeah.
ACL. I swear girls told me they could hear my scream across the field.
I was
So,
right there. I
oh
was
my God.
right next to you when it happened, and I
Yes.
think like I just froze.
Yes.
And then I just remember seeing your parents run down to the field,
Yes. Yes.
and I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Yep.
But
I have the video that
yes.
for a while after I would like replay it, but I don't do that anymore.
Good.
But my dad ran down the bleachers and like I remember Bryce coming out and just like
Yes.
I knew I tore it. It's a feeling you never forget.
Yeah.
But so I did that recovery and then I never fully recovered because I would try to run and then they were like, nope, this ACL is not holding up.
Right.
So they had to go in and they manually tore my ACL, took it out, and then
Yeah.
I got second ACL put in. And then in between that, I had another surgery and then I've had another one after that. So
Mhm.
I could talk about it for ages, but that's the
Yeah.
gist. Just, so many surgeries and just yeah.
So how was that going through those different types of injuries? I feel like at different like really spread out across your whole journey. Like
Yeah.
what mental toll did that take on you and like your confidence and all that
Yeah.
stuff?
I would say the younger ones, like being in high school, it was more just like I was embarrassed at points. I remember my friends having to wheel me around in a wheelchair at
Mhm.
school, um, losing like the ability to do things and like losing my identity, like
Yeah.
because we're like so focused on being a soccer player. So when it gets taken away from you at a young age, and you're like, I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So that sucked. But then as I got older and stuff, and soccer became like more serious, like
Mhm.
not being able to play in college when we had limited years, like
Yeah.
it sucked. Like getting to see everybody play and then as you know, as we've talked, like it got to a point where I got frustrated with other people. Like my anger with the injuries turned into anger about other people and like as we said, like I can admit I was an amazing teammate to other people, but
You were, yeah.
it got to the point where I had to leave practice. I had to step away. I couldn't watch because if I saw girls not on their toes for a passing drill, I was enraged. And
Yeah.
it was so deep within myself. It's just I would have done anything to be in that passing drill and on my
Yeah.
toes and ready for the ball.
Mhm.
And so people ask me all the time, "Oh, would you coach? Oh, would you do something?" And I'm like, "No." And
Yes.
it's better that way because
Yes.
I think so much time away from the game, I get so frustrated because I'm like, you're not doing the easy things when you're being given the ability to play.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
I
time
remember
has
we'd have
passed.
like those like conversations, be like, Emma, would you ever coach? And you're like self-aware enough to be like, no. Like I would like rip people to shreds, like if they're not doing the little things. But
Yes.
I can imagine how frustrating that is to like see players cut corners, not do things the right way when
Hmm.
it's like you have the ability to do it. You're like at the top level, like that everybody wants to be at.
Yeah.
And yet it's like you don't show appreciation for it in like the smallest ways. And it's
Yeah.
like you going through so many injuries and like just knowing you, like I know you'd want to be out there and I know you'd be like making the biggest impact. So I can just like imagine that frustration.
I
Yeah.
remember after I had torn my ACL the first time and I left campus for a little to get surgery and recover,
Mhm.
but I came back and one of the first times I was in the huddle, Luke said something and he was like, "Play for the people that can't play."
Yeah.
And I remember I bawled. I was
Mhm.
bawling in that huddle and I walked away crying and I
Yeah.
was just like, okay, like you get it. You said it. Like I
Yeah.
need each and every one of you to realize you have the ability to play the game you love. And that doesn't invalidate feeling frustrated with the game and feeling anxious and stuff, but just be grateful that you can even play.
Yeah. The
Like
ability. Yeah.
just some perspective.
And I know you had to medically retire, right? I know the term, like I get the gist of it, but like
Yeah.
what is the process like to medically retire? Like, do
Yeah.
you have to come up with that or are the trainers like suggesting it for you?
It's pretty much a combination, I would say. Like, I don't
Mhm.
think anybody can be forced into something
Yeah.
like that if they don't want to. But, like, I know girls from club who had to medically retire for other things too. So I feel like it's a common thing. But it pretty much came down to it after the second ACL surgery. And we had a trainer, I won't name her name, but we were talking and she was like, "What would you like to do like other than soccer?" And I was like, "What?" And
Mhm.
she was like, "Well, like what else are you interested in?" And I was like, "Running, like you guys know, like I
Yes.
wanted to run my 5K, like I want to run a
Yeah.
half marathon down the line." And she was like, "That's not going to happen."
Mm.
And I remember that day soul crushed. Like
Yeah.
absolutely crushed. Like I would say that's the moment when I knew it was done.
Yeah.
If I had a trainer at my school who wasn't even confident in me
Yeah.
running post soccer that and she's asking what else I want to do, I'm like, I knew.
Yeah.
And so then I remember one day we went out to the field too, and Kelsey was like, "Oh, you can start cutting." So my best friends, Kendall and Sierra, the
Yes.
best supporters I
Yes.
could ever ask for, went out to the field with me.
Emma is cutting for the first time in a minute.
And it was as the girls were playing, like Gabby was still playing, like all of that. So we were on the other end of the field and we were doing our fun little cutting drills and stuff. And it was so funny because you guys were like cheering for me, but you were also
Yeah.
giggling because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yes.
But it was such a fun moment, like having the support. But I also knew that next day when the amount of pain I was in and I couldn't walk without horrible pain, I
Yeah.
knew I couldn't do a fun little T drill of cutting to the sides
Yeah.
without being in horrible pain. So
Mhm.
those two moments is when I knew it had to
Yeah.
happen. And it's kind of just like talking to Luke, and he knew too. He
Yeah.
knew it was,
Yeah. How was like that feeling for you? I know you said it was like soul crushing for
yeah.
like, to hear you probably won't run a 5K, which you
Yeah,
did, which you
which
did.
I did.
Yes, and we'll talk about that. But like just for like that chapter of your life to be like gone, because you kind of ended before like the rest of us.
Ah,
So like what was that kind of like? How did that affect you?
it's a good point you make. Like I was done before you guys, so I kind of
Yeah.
had my little mourning period before all my girls
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
Um, I I like lost the sense of being an
Mhm.
athlete. Like not even just a soccer player, but like me being an athlete was gone. Like
Yeah.
just taken away from me. I was walking around campus in pain, walking with crutches. Like I didn't
Yeah.
even feel like a normal functioning human at that
Mhm.
point. And so I would say that it honestly was a slow process too, because I realized at that point, but then we had that time of me realizing to then graduating and everybody being done and like the season ending.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of had like a continuation, because then when you guys finished too, I was like, oh my God, we're all done. Like,
Yeah.
this is when I would have been done too. I think I had a little bit more time than you guys also to
Yeah.
process that, because your guys' season was done after a game. And I
Yeah.
had like a lot of time, which I will say, thinking about it then, like, I actually appreciate that I had more time to like mourn it and like transition, because if I had been playing still, I think I really would have struggled too.
Yeah.
The season ending and like having to snap into like life, like that spring semester, I think was a little bit easier on me because I had been without it for so long already.
Yeah.
But yeah, being with you guys is like you were going through it too, and like finding the motivation to like go to the gym. Like, I
Yes.
remember you guys being like, what do we do? Like,
Yeah, it was weird.
yeah.
That kind of wanted me to bring back. Every time I think about this, I low key just want to cry because, like, like you said, somebody said you couldn't run a 5K, and you did. You
I
literally
did.
did. And I, like you mentioned, Kelsey, like Kelsey was like, Kendall, like, and you hadn't even been talking to us about wanting to run a 5K.
No.
And then Kelsey, I remember she texted me and she was like, you and Sierra, Emma wants to do this, sign up. And you know, me and Sierra, we don't like to run. Like, this was like, I think she told us this when we were cutting that day or like around that time.
Yeah.
And we just finished soccer. We haven't ran, haven't done anything. And we were like, okay, like we want to surprise Emma and we want to run this 5K with her. And we had to train. Like we'd like go to the gym and we'd run a little bit and be like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like we're not gonna be able to do this. But you, Emma, you were in that gym. You were like trying to make your times. Like even when it came time for the 5K. I remember at one point they had like the people with the waters and stuff. And me and Sierra were like, going the direction of the waters. And Emma, because we're following Emma's lead, like if Emma stopped, we stop. And Emma was like, just kept powering through the water. And we go, okay, no water. Okay,
No water.
yeah, but I did want to ask you, like, kind of what was that like? Because I felt like that in itself was just a huge accomplishment.
I mean, in my head, I thought I was doing it by myself. But then looking back, I don't know if I could have,
Yeah.
because having you two with me was like the best surprise of my life. Like,
Yes.
I remember bawling when
Yes.
we were going to pick up the registration packet and you were like coaching or something, and
Yeah.
they were like, Kendall's coming, Kendall's coming. I'm like, no, she doesn't need to drive all the way here to watch me pick up a packet. Like,
Yeah.
what the heck? I'm like, love her, but that's crazy. And then
Mhm.
I go to say my name and my girls are sitting next to me saying their names, and I turn and I'm like, I
Yes.
was like, that was just one of the best days of my life. And like pushing through and like proving to myself that I could do that and like have that support. Like, we had our girls there at the finish line for us, like just that support. And my parents were there. Like, I ran
Yes.
into their arms. Like, even though I'm like struggling now with running, like things got worse and stuff, but like I always know I did that.
Hmm.
I got back to that point, so I can do it again. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's just proof that you can do what you put your mind to. Like, it's just
100%.
makes
It,
me
it
so
was it was
happy.
a it was a great day. Like I remember we got up early. Like you were
Yes.
pumped. You were
Yes.
like pumped. Me and Sierra were like, we're gonna do it. Like okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna do it. It was amazing. And like you said, you ran like straight to your parents. But I
Mm-hmm.
think like that moment for me and Sierra both were like, Emma has been through so much, and you are somebody who continuously shows up for people.
Yeah.
Like new people, us, like people you've known for a while, you continuously show up for people. And I was like, this is a way for us to show up for Emma and a way to, just we're proud of you. And like to have Gabby there and with the signs and all that stuff, like it was just great. But like we were just so proud of you. And like that moment always just means like the
Mm-hmm.
world to me. So I just had to make sure we talked about that on the podcast. What's something you think people don't really understand about injuries?
I think people don't understand the full picture sometimes.
Hmm.
And sometimes it may look like surface level to others, like,
Yes.
oh, she's injured, she can't physically do these things, but I think it's getting better now with like mental health being a conversation, but like I don't think sometimes coaches or trainers even, which it's their job, but um even athletes who have never been injured a day in their life, they don't understand the full picture. Like, if I could walk you through a day in my life when I was injured, I was waking up depressed
Yeah.
because I was in pain. I knew I wasn't going to play soccer at practice later. I had to go to class and limp there. I had to be thinking about practice later.
Hmm.
And then I would proceed to have no time off because I had to go straight from class to the training room where I would spend 2 hours
2 hours,
doing
yes.
my recovery, and I would have to get to practice and sit there and watch practice after I had basically done my own practice for myself in the training room. And then I would have to sit there and watch it. And I wasn't the type that would sit down and just watch.
No.
I would collect the cones. I would go grab the balls. I would try to be as involved as I could because it made me feel better in the moment.
Hmm.
But it was hard. And
Yeah.
then we'd go to the calf after and like, you know, like my struggles with eating, like
Hmm.
I went through that period where I was injured and I'm like, I don't deserve to eat. Like
Yeah.
my friends just ran hard at practice. They deserve their dinner. I don't deserve my dinner. Like
Hmm.
the depths of which injury goes into and like you feeling unworthy of eating,
Yeah.
you feeling unworthy of like people's time because they're athletes and they
Yeah.
have their own things. Like it's just people don't always understand the full picture. And I think
Mhm.
that's where we lose people when they don't feel supported and they don't feel seen.
Yeah.
And I just think sometimes I wish there was just millions of dollars and resources in the world that every college could have a mental health team, could
Yeah.
have counselors specifically for sports
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
like it's just so needed, not even for injuries, but just everybody.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You bring up some really good points. And I do want to say, like, I think I was one of those athletes who would be like, oh, she just doesn't want to do the running. She just doesn't want to do the conditioning. Like, she's fine. She's fine. But I
Yeah.
think meeting you and watching it firsthand, because we were roommates,
Yeah.
watching how much, like, you were in the trainer like 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And, like, I could tell how hard it was for you to, like, have to still try to find some type of involvement. And I think that gave me more perspective for people who even are trying to like fake an injury, because
Yeah.
that's just telling me that something is wrong
Yeah.
mentally or physically. Something is wrong that
Yeah.
needs to be addressed. And I think oftentimes, if even coaches or like teammates, if they know someone's like maybe faking an injury, they'll like
Mhm.
push them to the side, they'll exclude them, they'll, I don't know,
Mhm.
'cause it is frustrating. Like being a player, it is
Yeah.
frustrating because it's like, I'm hurt too, we're all sore too.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do think there's something wrong, and I do think that's maybe a time to explore that, like what is going on in a way that's, respectful and not very like accusatory. You know what I mean? Because like that could turn somebody off. Like, yes, but you mentioned like you were very engaged, Emma. Like you were not the type of injured player to like sit out, even when
No.
you'd have like the whole brace on. Like
Yeah.
you're like walking with the balls, you're shagging, you're
Yeah.
cheering us up, and I think not everybody has that ability. And
Yeah.
as we know, not everybody did have that ability for whatever reasons. But I think that was probably a way for you to feel seen and like, like you were involved. But what really gave you that motivation to still show up to practice?
I would say having my friends out there, like it was one of my favorite things to watch you guys play. And like you said before, you guys weren't the ones that didn't put an effort. Like I always knew you cared and that you were trying
Yeah.
your hardest at practice. So like knowing that there were people that wanted to be there and wanted to play and were doing the
Mhm.
right things, I think I realize I'm still a part of this team and if I
Yeah.
wanted to quit and step away, I could have. Like I could
Yeah.
have quit the soccer team and had
Yeah.
no part in it. Like
Yeah.
Luke supported me.
Hmm.
I had a meeting with him and he said, "You don't have to come." Like I could have done that, but I think it was the easier option for me to show
Yeah.
up on the days that I could. And I just didn't find any gratification in sitting there and watching. And I think I was also a little ignorant because in my frustration, I would be like, why are you just sitting? Like, we
Yeah.
might be injured, but we can do something. But like
Yeah.
you just said, you never know. There could be
Yeah.
something deeper mentally. They
Mhm.
might not be able to get up off of that bench.
Yeah.
Might be harder for them to help. So
Mhm.
I think that also gave me more perspective too. Like, you know what? People need to do what's best for
For
them.
them. Yes.
And for me, it was getting up and being
Yeah.
interactive.
Yes.
And I would say the motivation came from knowing it would make me feel better,
Mhm.
better than sitting on the bench and better than wallowing in my self-pity and my
Yeah.
sadness. So, yeah, I had quite a few laps around that field getting
Yes.
balls and stuff,
Yes.
but you know what? It made me involved and
Yeah. But then also I wanted to segue into talking about mental health. And I do want to give you your flowers in saying that I think before you got to Eckerd, mental health was not a conversation. It wasn't a conversation between like teammates or anything like that. But I think you kind of like really brought it up, and not even like a big way. It was kind of you'd ask us questions, and then soon enough it started to turn into like a therapy session, and we were just
yeah.
kind of like sharing our feelings about things. And then you introduced me to therapy
Hmm.
because I was like, I'm not doing therapy. I don't have time. But watching you go, wait, am I putting your business out there? Saying you
No,
went to
you're
therapy?
not, girl.
Okay.
Therapy.
Yes, therapy, but
Mhm.
Emma started going to therapy, then I did, then like Sierra did, and it was just like that junk, it's helpful. It really is.
Yes.
And I think you just made it aware for us. And
Hmm.
I thank you for that. And I also think that's part of the reason why I'm so like passionate about what I do now, sports psychology, starting this podcast, like all of that because of athletes and people like you. But like I mentioned earlier, you did start a Morgan's Message chapter at Eckerd, and I just wanted to know like what made you want to start that.
I gotta give credit. It was at my old school.
Hmm.
And so, like, in a way, it was like we would have a game every now and then, and we would have the shirts and stuff. Um, but I knew that I wanted to do more with it. Like, I wanted to raise money. I wanted to start the Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to people about it. And I remember it was the sophomore spring when I first got there. I was sitting in class. I should have been paying attention, but I was on my computer Googling how to start a chapter.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't at Eckerd because if it was there, I would have joined and
Right.
been a part of it, but I knew it wasn't there. And I think I thought to myself, and I'm like, I need to come here and make a small change, even if it's just starting it, even if nothing
Yeah.
came of it and nobody interacted with it. I wanted to start it.
Hmm.
So I remember I got support from Tom Ryan and Becky and all of them, Brittany, and they were supportive of me starting it. And I had to do a lot of work, like
You did.
creating the events and running the Instagram. And like, gosh, there was a lot to it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change anything. Like, if anything, I'd go back and wish I could have done more. But like,
Yeah.
knowing now that it's still going on at school, like Morgan took it over, and hopefully for years to come, I think Paige is
Yeah.
helping out. Like, I hope it keeps growing and I hope the
Yeah.
games keep happening and the speech gets said at the
Mhm.
games. But I think my favorite part of it was the games when I stood there with my little poster board
Mhm.
after, and I had an older gentleman come up to me and he was like, "What is this?"
Mhm.
And that conversation sticks with me.
Yeah.
Him genuinely wondering what I was doing.
Mhm.
He took a bracelet, he took a sticker, he took a pamphlet, and he genuinely cared.
Yeah.
And he openly admitted, he was like, I don't really think or previously thought that mental health was a big thing. And this was at one of the baseball games, I think.
Yeah.
And we had such a good conversation. And he walked away with that pamphlet, and I'm like, okay, one person listened.
Yeah.
And I hope he can sit at this baseball game and look at it through a different lens, and
Mhm.
that these are humans on this field and
Yeah.
they have their struggles and it should be talked about.
Mhm.
So it was all worth it to me. Like my
Yeah.
favorite thing was like me standing with the poster board and like at the club fair, like you came and sat with me at the club
Yeah.
fair for hours and you didn't have
Yes.
to do that.
I
Just
loved
like
it.
the support from everybody around me and knowing that people were talking about it. Hey,
Yes.
positive or negative, because you know there were people, baseball people,
Yes.
talking negatively, saying it was stupid, saying it was a waste, and why would we even do that? But you know what? That's just as purposeful to me because it means they were talking about it. and
Hmm.
it means that they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So if you think it's a waste, then there's something that needs to be
Yeah.
talked about. So,
Exactly. And again, just enforcing that stigma because they
yeah.
could have benefited from a few therapy sessions, from a
Yeah.
few from a few anything. Like, and that's the
Yeah.
thing, it's not normalized the way that I feel like it should be. And like I said, you came and you normalized that conversation and talking about your feelings and kind of being vulnerable is very, very uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
it's easy to match that with like, ew, like what is that? Like what is that? But like you said, that's very nice. That man took curiosity and he took a pamphlet, and I'm sure that changed something within him, big or small. It changed something in him
Yes.
to where he can like now, I don't know, share that with someone and help reduce that stigma.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask you, what are some conversations that you think are super important that need to be had in athletic environments?
I would say it's important that it comes from the top down because
Mm-hmm.
if the conversations aren't happening, like from the athletic director, from the coaches, from the staff, then like, why is it just on the athletes to
Yeah.
have these conversations? Why is it not being enforced? Oh, we need a sports psychologist. We need this. We need that. Because the athletes, we can't do too much. Like, I could start the chapter, but like, I needed money for things. I needed
Yeah.
like support. I needed to be have a staff advisor. Like I really just wish it came from the top at times. And I
Mhm.
think things will change. I think as it gets spoken about more, change will happen. But I would say also, I think you talked about in your episode with Sierra that at points you didn't even feel like you could talk about it with us. Like
Yeah.
your anxiety was just like happening within and you kind of just shut down and kept it in. And like I remember that time. Like I remember knowing that like
Mm.
you just weren't fully in it and like
Yeah.
loving the game and like everything that was going on. And it was so valid what you were
Mhm.
feeling. But like
Yeah.
there are times when you can't even talk to your best friends
Yeah.
where it's so deep inside and it's so much easier said than done, but just like knowing that you can always talk to somebody.
Mhm.
Um, and you did. You eventually came around and
Yes.
started therapy, and
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for that. And like,
Awesome.
it is just so sad to think that there are times when like you feel like there's nobody there.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
also think that is valid too, but I also think I didn't even know what I was feeling. Like
Yeah.
burnout, I didn't know what burnout was until I got
Mhm.
into my program. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I learned so much from my program, and it's like,
Yeah.
dang, I wish I would have known this when I was like playing, or even like learning about people who are injured and like the difference between like perceived sport support and then like actual support. And like I talked to you, I asked you about that too, and I was like, there's just so much depth and layers to it. And I'm like, I feel like if any athlete just took this intro class, you would
Yeah.
just become a whole different soccer player, and
Yeah.
you'd realize how much the mental side of things truly do affect your performance and how you play. And
Yeah.
how like even a teammate, like I felt like I wasn't a good captain, I felt like I wasn't a good teammate because mentally it's like I'm not doing all right, and I know if I'm not doing all right mentally, physically it just wasn't going to come, you know what I mean? um, what would you tell someone who's going through a really hard time with an injury or who experienced a career-ending injury? What advice, or I don't know, some words of confidence you'd give them?
It's probably cliche, but just in general, like you are not your sport.
Mhm.
You are not simply an athlete. You are not just a soccer player.
Mhm.
And I think I wish I could just remind people that there's so much to you.
Yeah.
Like who I am now versus who I was when I just identified as a soccer player, it's so different. Like I love to cook, I love to scrapbook, I love arts and crafts. Like
Yes.
I love my job. Like just there's so much more to life. And if I told my younger self that and like talking about that, she'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, no, you're gonna
Mhm.
play soccer forever." But like,
Yeah.
no, like your value and your worth is not determined by how well you do on the field. And I just think the best is yet to come. Like,
Yes.
genuinely, like
Yeah.
when I was talking to my mom about doing this, she was like, "You're just a like different person." Like at times I do wish that I wasn't so harsh on myself
Hmm.
and I didn't force myself. Like I probably put myself through so much more pain and mental suffering trying to make it work and
Yeah.
trying to make soccer happen that I probably shouldn't have done. And it
Mm.
was for the love of the game and wanting to play, but like looking back on it now, there's so much more to life. Like I'm so much happier now accepting
Yeah.
that and having other things to do.
Yeah.
Just reflect on that. And I wish it was spoken about while you're an athlete. Like
Yes.
being an athlete is amazing and playing in college, playing at any level is amazing, but don't let it be your end
Only
all.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think I had to learn that too, like life post soccer. I'm like, who am I? Like my identity
yeah,
was so embedded into soccer. Like all my validation came from soccer because, I wasn't the most confident in school or like, standing in front of people and talking. But like now I'm doing that, and I feel like comfortable. And I'm like, who is this person? And so it could be hard at times, like really hard, but also so nice and so like I don't know the word. I don't know, like proud of yourself or whatever to like see you go through that growth and see you accept, yes, I was a soccer player. Yes, it was fun, but now it's time for me to move on and like find my own purpose. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I'm like working so hard in school and I enjoy school for the first time and making good grades and all that stuff. So it's definitely exciting and I think that's huge. And I think athletes that now need to hear that as well. Like you're not your sport because whether you're healthy or whether you get through injuries, it's gonna come to an end at some point. And
Mhm,
now you have to figure out like who you are and that could be a lot, you know what I mean? So
mhm,
I have a few more questions because we are closing up, but I do want to say just how proud of you I am for your whole journey. Like even talking to you today, I've learned so much about you that I feel like I didn't. And like obviously I saw these qualities, like you said, you always put other people first, but like to hear you say it kind of makes me like think like I do see a little bit of myself in you. Like we're very similar in that aspect. And like you said, you did like getting all the top goals, like you don't want to shine. And that was
yeah,
me. Like I didn't want to take away from the hard work and dedications that other people around me have put in. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So and I know how difficult that is to like deal with and have that, kind of conflict in your head. So I do want to say I'm proud of you for that. I want to say I'm proud of you for getting through your injuries and getting through them, but also not letting that take your spark away. Like you said, you were always helping people. And, right after you, I think there were like a whole bunch of other
Yeah.
injuries, but yeah, you were going to rehab with them. You were checking in on them. And like, you did not have to do that at all. But you were, and like, that's just who you are as a person. So I'm very proud of that. Proud of you for that 5K always. And like, not listening to what professionals say. Like you
Yeah.
pushed through and I saw how much you were working. You're like, I'm going to the gym, like peace, Em, like have fun. Proud of you for that. But then like also you're a great friend. And I'm gonna probably say this in your intro, but when you came to Eckerd, everything just felt like whole and like complete. And so
Yeah,
I
well,
think you definitely have been a great friend to us and you've been a great teammate and just a great person. Oh my God, like just proud of you and the person you are, the person you were, and the person that you're becoming. But I did want to ask you, what's a moment, it could be soccer related or not soccer related,
mhm.
that really made you feel like, wow, I'm really proud of myself.
Hmm, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Hmm. Honestly, right now it's hearing you say that about me and like just knowing that like what I was trying to do and like trying to be a positive person, knowing that other people saw it, like
Yeah,
winning the Triton Award
yes.
and like hearing them say like all the things that I've done and like then winning the Perseverance Award. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like people think that of me?" Just like
Yeah,
other people's opinions don't matter, but when people recognize your hard work and like who I'm trying so hard to be as a person despite everything, like those moments mean so much to me. But like, and it's even translated into me at work now. Like,
mhm,
I try so hard to be a good person and show up every day. And like, I take that mentality, like from being a college soccer player, being a team player, like into work every day. And like, I already have people saying, wow, these patients said Emma's super nice to them. And like, that's just who I am and who I strive to be. Like, So hearing it from other people and knowing that I'm doing the right thing is just so nice.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
I'm glad, like you said, people's opinions don't matter, but to, I don't know, feel seen is like truly huge and like so important.
Yeah.
But also I do want to ask you, what would you tell Emma, either young Emma starting soccer, high school, middle school, college, like what would you tell little Emma that you think she needed to hear?
Oh, it's it's hard to even think about it because like there were times when it got so hard,
Yeah.
and I know I would think back to my younger self like on that soccer field, like my mom having to drag me out on that soccer field, like not wanting to play.
Mhm.
Like I didn't even love the sport at first. I really didn't. But like just the journey that I had, like I would tell my younger self to stay with it, don't give up, and
Yeah.
everything's gonna work out in the right way because there were so many times when I could have
Yeah.
and I wanted to, but I am who I am because I stayed with it and because I persevered, and I wouldn't be half the person that I am today. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't have so many of my best friends, so many supportive people in my life if I hadn't stuck with it.
Yeah.
And it's all just gonna work out because
Hmm.
it did.
It did. Is there anything else you want to add about your journey or anything like that?
I'm gonna butcher the quote, but as we were speaking, I was thinking about this quote that I've seen. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something along the lines of like the words you speak become the house you live in. And I
Hmm.
think that's just a good way to end it. Like the way you speak about yourself and the way you
Yeah.
speak to other people is just like a reflection of you and how you're gonna feel.
Yes.
And I think that was a really good thing to remember throughout all of my struggles and stuff is like what I'm putting into it is the life I'm living. Like I am in full control of if I want to show up today.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just a good thing to live by. Like you are in full control. And
Mhm.
even if you feel out of control, you have to remind yourself you set your day.
But yeah, I do just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and I love being able to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
Hi guys, it's me again. I just want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in to this podcast with me and Emma. I had so much fun getting to reconnect with her and getting to talk about things we really haven't talked about. I did want to say I'm so sorry I have not been the most consistent when it comes to posting. I have a lot of things going on, but this is something I want to see through, so bear with me. I have some great guests coming up that I'm super excited about. And yeah, just again, thank you, Emma, for being on the podcast. Thank you for everyone else who has already been on the podcast. And thank you for the viewers. Truly, thank you for anybody who's able to sit, listen, and take something away. It truly does mean a lot. But thank you again, and I hope you guys all have a great, great day. Thank you.
Emma, I love this conversation, by the way.
So.